the law school.
Wish to welcome all the committee members and our assembled guests. And for the committee tonight, we have approximately 4 action items on our agenda. I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of our last meeting on February 2nd, 2009. Okay. Second. I now would like to call upon Vice Chancellor Moore to introduce action item 1B. Vice Chancellor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 1B is our policy on drugs and alcohol. The federal law requires all institutions of higher education to certify to the Secretary of Education that they have adopted and implemented a program to prevent the use of illicit drugs and abuse of alcohol by students and employees. This policy has been developed from our legal office with input from staff, faculty, and students. And at this time, I'd like to ask Vice Chancellor and General Counsel Schaefer if he has any comments.
I think the policy is pretty straightforward and clear, and I really don't have anything to add and be happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Professor Bell?
University Faculty Senate have several concerns about it. Of course, we agree that illegal use of drug and alcohol is not a good thing, and of course we understand the federal law. We're concerned, first of all, about students for whom it is legal to possess alcohol, people over 21 who may live in the dormitories now being restricted, and particularly concerned when graduate students live in the dormitories, and that will that changes the nature, whether you can restrict graduate and whether we can enforce such restrictions of adults essentially doing legal behavior. I mean, I'm not saying abusing alcohol, but if the student wants a wine or a beer or something, that's normal behavior, and to try to restrict it may be something that causes more of a problem down the road. The policy is written very generally, and we're concerned that it should be more specific and enforceable.
Comments on that?
I'm not sure what you mean by enforceable. It is legally enforceable. We can set a rule that goes beyond whatever the laws of New York State may provide. I think what you're really driving at, Martha, is it practicable?
Yeah.
And I think the answer is yes. We have been for a long time a primarily, overwhelmingly, almost entirely a non-residential university. We've had the dormitory at Hunter for a number of years. We now have a few years of experience with the residence hall at City College. I don't mean to distinguish between dormitory and residence hall. It's just that given my age, I always say dormitory, and I'm being trained to say residence hall, but my training has been imperfect. I need to refer to them both as residence halls. And the feeling on the part of people involved in running those residence hall was really overwhelming, that you cannot have an enforceable alcohol policy if some students in that hall have alcohol and others do not, even if they are legally entitled to have it. So a very conscious decision was made to apply this policy to all students in residence halls, regardless of their age. Now, obviously, CUNY employees are a different matter. They're not students, and if we have faculty living in a residence hall, this policy isn't applicable to them. But yes, I do think it is enforceable and practicable, and indeed necessary.
Yes, certainly.
Rick, can I ask a question? Was it considered that the students who are of age to have alcohol, because you're right, I've worked in a residence hall and I know the nightmares, but I think if I remember correctly, the policy that that particular institution had was that even though some students might be over 21 and allowed to drink, if they were caught in the room with a minor drinking or having a party, in their room, then they were legally responsible, and then they faced particular actions or, disciplinary procedures. Was that considered, or was that just a lot of levels for legalities for CUNY?
I don't recall whether that specific alternative was considered. I know we did discuss a number of alternatives. Campuses that have, that are primarily residential campuses have different practices in this regard. In some cases, there are graduate student or mature student dormitories where everybody in the hall is 21 or older. There are places that have separate floors and so on. Given the very small number of residence halls that we have, we didn't think that was practical. Could you make the of age students responsible in the case that you've described? Yes, I think you could. I think the feeling of those who have had experience in this area, including those who've had experience in our two current residence halls, was that it was really better to draw the line and say, no students with alcohol in the dormitories, period.
Any further questions? Yes, Mr. Fuller.
I'd like to thank Vice Chancellor Schaefer for the exchange of views that he had with Professor Jay Weiser, who is the chair of the UFS Legal Affairs Committee. The UFS more recently got a copy from Vice Chancellor Schaefer's office of the federal law that underlies this, and we became only this afternoon a little more acutely aware that the federal law doesn't really cover adults in the same way, and so that affects our view of things a little bit. But my question right now is, if we have a person who is both a faculty member and a student occupying a residence hall, suppose we have a graduate student only residence hall where all the members are graduate students and presumably adults, very few, if any, graduate students will be minors. They will also be faculty members because they teach as adjunct members of the faculty. What would their status be under this resolution? I would assume that since they're faculty, they would not be covered. Is that correct?
I think that's right, although we had thought about graduate student dormitories and just decided to defer, figuring that if and when we created one, we could always amend the policy to deal with that particular situation. But since none were in existence or on the drawing board, it didn't seem necessary to make that exception now. But extending your question to what if you have an RA who is both a graduate student and an adjunct professor, is that person considered a student or an employee? And I would think the answer is an employee.
Right. Isn't it not correct that the graduate school has a residence hall for doctoral students only?
Not that I'm aware of.
I believe they do.
They have from time to time rented space,
yes, right.
Or made space available in private residential buildings for rental by graduate students. In some cases, the graduate students had a lease directly with the landlord. In some cases in the past, but I don't think for many years now, the graduate school rented a block of rooms and then sublet those apartments to graduate students. But in either case, I don't think they really qualify as residence halls. I mean, these were just blocks of apartments being rented out. And I tried to be clear, I think, in the introduction to this, that at the moment, we have the residence halls that we're talking about are City College, Hunter, and the residence hall that's about to open at Queens. And those are the only ones we have right now.
May I?
Yes, go ahead.
And the residence hall at Brooklyn will not apply to it.
No, it's not a residence hall. That is a private building in which students are being directed, if they wish to rent an apartment from a private landlord, they can do so. But that is not a CUNY facility.
At Queens College, the RAs are undergraduates. Does that still make them faculty?
No, they are not faculty. They are students, and this applies to them.
So just the fact that they would be graduate students makes them...
No, you have to be actually a faculty member in order for this policy not to apply. It applies to all students, regardless of their age.
Didn't we say before that graduate students who were RAs did not...
If they were faculty members, it would not apply to them.
Oh,
If they are graduate students only, I think the question that was asked was if they are also faculty members, as some graduate students are, but some graduate students aren't, and they would be covered by this policy just like any other student.
Yeah, I come from a campus where we had 16 residence halls on one campus, and we actually had designated halls for grad students, and most of them were of legal age to drink, and so the rules we had pertaining to use of alcohol, certainly didn't apply to them. They were given, freedoms that undergrads were not given. So it does work if we had multiple residence halls on campuses, but we don't, so.
Rick, in the future, when we develop more residence halls, are faculty going to be commingled with students?
I think that may already be the case, but I certainly would expect that there are and will be some faculty residences in these residence halls, and that some faculty will be RAs.
Right.
I actually find that to be a very positive thing.
Yeah, it should be.
One more question?
Yes.
People are concerned, and I guess I am too, about whether students in religious observance would be penalized.
An excellent question.
Yep.
I know that on some campuses they have designated special areas for students to observe their religious practices, and so on some campuses I know that has been taken in consideration.
I think that kind of accommodation can be worked out, but I think you don't want students doing it in their own rooms. I think you want a designated area. I'm told that this issue actually has already come up with the lighting of candles, and the rule is you don't light candles in your own room because of obvious fire safety issues.
They have a common area.
So to the extent that there needs to be, and personally I think there should be some kind of religious accommodation, it needs to be worked out at some common
So we can note
supervised area.
that somewhere, that there'll be some accommodation for...
I think that's right, that would go without saying, but it needs to be a supervised common area.
Even with the new residence halls that we're building, I know we're taking in consideration the cultural practices that would speak to certain students wanting to cook their own food, for example, or not use utensils that were used by others, and those things are being considered.
Very good. That's nice.
That's very important.
Very nice.
Any other questions? Okay.
Okay, action item 1C, residence hall disciplinary procedures appropriately follows the one on alcohol use.
What's the action on B? What do we
We-
decide?
We approved that.
We're voting on it now.
Yeah, we did. I asked for a motion to approve, and it was seconded.
Was there a vote?
No vote.
I didn't
don't think there was a vote.
There's no vote.
Yeah,
There's no vote.
no
Not
vote.
yet.
No vote, no alcohol.
Yeah.
It hasn't been voted on yet.
I think someone was asking, do you plan to vote these as a block, or do you want to do them one at a time? Because I don't think there was a vote on 1B.
Okay,
No, there was no vote on 1B. I'm just trying to understand.
okay.
Okay, so
We'll
it's
do it
been moved.
as a block. We'll do it as a block. It'll be easier.
Well, I think that you ought to do it one by one.
I think it's much
wanna
better
do
to
it one
vote
by one?
Yeah, I think you ought to do one.
Okay, we're democratic here.
So it's been moved and
Okay.
seconded.
Okay, now, all those in favor? Your hand up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Any questions? That's it. Anyone opposed? This has been a long time since we voted on. Yeah. Anyone opposed?
Abstentions?
Okay, any abstentions? 2,
4 to 2.
4 to 2.
Okay, action item 1C is Residence Hall disciplinary procedures. In the past few years, as Vice Chancellor Schaefer has already mentioned, we have been getting into the Residence Hall business. This policy serves to provide for each college the opportunity to regulate, if you will, appropriate practices for all of our residence halls. In order for CUNY residence halls to function as effective learning communities, and I want to emphasize learning communities, CUNY needs to ensure that all students who live in the residence hall behave lawfully and responsibly. You have a copy of the policy attached, and if there are questions, we certainly will entertain those. Again, this is a policy that has been worked in our legal office and has been circulated throughout CUNY.
I'd like to make an amendment for page 2, number 4A. It says that whether its residence hall is managed by a CUNY college directly or by a private company, each college is encouraged to establish a residence life peer review board. And I would like to add, and it's approved by its student government, just because I feel like it should be both sides, the administration and the student government, and that we do know the student government knows the students best.
I'm sorry, what item?
Page 2, 4A, it's
Thank
the
you.
third line.
Thank you.
I think the intent there was to cover
All?
all of the residence halls, regardless of who managed them, and that whatever procedure exists on the college, which I assume involves consultation with the students, because they would be part of the college governing structure, would be involved. If you'd like to make that clear, I'm not sure.
If it's not in writing sometimes.
Yeah,
know
no, I have no
school
problem with
code-
being in writing, I'm just not sure exactly what words you want to insert at what point in
What
the
about
sentence.
in consultation with or
That's
something?
okay.
Because I'm not 100% convinced, you know, that there would definitely be that type of consultation with students unless we put it in there.
Okay.
So that way the students can hold the administration to that type
Sure.
of
So-
co-involvement.
I think that's in the wrong sentence.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out where to put it.
If
We
you
could put it in the second line where it says, each college, comma, in consultation with the student government
Government?
organization.
Or you could put it at the end of the paragraph where it says, it must establish a selection and training process for peer review, a selection in consultation with the student government.
And a peer review board is comprised of students.
The students, though, they don't say where the students are selected from.
That's why
Right, so we need to say in consultation.
in
that's why it should be down there with selection in that sentence where it says it's selected in consultation with.
Well,
Well,
Amanda, it's your motion, so you get to choose where you'd like to put it, or perhaps you'd like to put it in both places.
I like both.
All right?
Make it clear.
All right? So we'll add in consultation with the student
the
government
student
organization in both places. In
Yep.
the second line, Steve down at the end of the table is taking notes here. In the second line, after each college and before is encouraged, separated by commas. And again, down in the last sentence, if the college establishes a peer review board, it must, comma, in consultation with the student government organization, et cetera.
We write fast.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move adoption of the proposal along with the amendments that were positioned as aforementioned.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions? Any against? Carried.
All right, action item D, Brooklyn College student fee referendum. This referendum provides for a $10 increase in the student activity fee paid by day session and graduate students at Brooklyn College to support the health care clinic. The College Association will allocate the fee, which will be locally earmarked to the health care clinic. This increase will also apply to the summer session. We have Dr. Milga Morales here to speak to this fee increase request. Milga, you want to come up?
We've had a health clinic on campus since 1993, when the students voted to pass a fee increase so that they could then support the health clinic, and they've been traditionally doing it with by supporting it individually, $10 each graduate and undergraduate students. Obviously, costs have gone up in many ways, and everyone knows, whether it's the staffing or medical supplies, et cetera. So the students this year came forward, both the undergraduate division and the graduate division, and proposed that they increase the fee by another $10. At this point, seeing that the clinic has been very, very effective, over 7,000 patient visits a year, 4,000 individual students being seen by the staff of the health clinic, and the health clinic having a wonderful reputation amongst the students. With the results of this particular referendum, the president has decided that he would like to recommend it forward. That would mean $10 increase for the graduate students and a $10 increase for the undergraduate students, day students.
Ask for a motion to approve. So moved. Second.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? None. Nays? None. Carried.
Thank you.
I might add, that is an excellent program, because I have been on the campus, and I have personally seen it over the past 10 years grow.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Milga.
Okay, and then the next one, we're now going to go into executive session.
You've got,
We left one out, didn't we?
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So move.
Do we have the vice chancellor's report on this?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going into executive session.
So move.
All those in favor, say aye. Thank you. Thank you.
Make this very brief. Each of you has a copy of my report. I won't give the full report. I want to mention that we are at the point now where we are ready to provide a report to you from our mental health consultant study. We have completed the collection of data, and you will receive that very shortly. Not as a final report, but as one where we will get your feedback on, and of course, based on the data and the feedback, we will then develop a model for CUNY. The other information item has to do with the student complaint procedure, which is an informational piece. That particular procedure has been distributed widely through CUNY, and you have a copy of that as well.
Yeah, I just want to add that this is a report required, well, it didn't have to be a report, but the student complaint procedure that was passed 2.5 years ago indicated there would be a review after 2 years of experience. This memo that you have from me is a summary of what that review has shown. It's really just an information item for now. In the fall, I will come back to the various constituencies and eventually to this committee and the board with some suggested amendments to improve those procedures. But for right now, I just wanted you to have the memo so you would be aware of what the experience has been, and we could reflect on it over the summer and talk about it next year.
Okay, very good.
Also want to mention that the Kingsborough Community College women's tennis team has won a national title, and they will be recognized at the full board meeting later this month. Final item is to simply recognize the large number of students who are receiving national awards throughout CUNY. And you have been seeing these students in newspapers and in flyers and what have you, and I think that's something to be. That's my report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments? I have one comment. I would like to thank the students from Queens College, especially the disabled students, for inviting me last month to give them a presentation on financial fitness, because I think it's extremely important that they understand, especially in this economic crisis, where they should focus their funds and how to protect themselves against unscrupulous credit card and other lenders who are predators. And I hope I was able to be succinct and honest, and I enjoyed meeting with all of you. And we're going to do that again, because I've done it the past 10 years. I think I hit 15 campuses over the past 10 years. I want all of you to be aware, and it was a privilege, and thank you.
On behalf of everyone, thank you for coming. We really appreciated it.
I enjoyed it. Wish I make all of you rich. So you give back to CUNY and endowments.
Madam Chair, I want to emphasize as well in my report that there is mention that the CUNY Coalition for Students with Disabilities received the very first Vice Chancellor's Award for their advocacy, their volunteerism, and their leadership.
That's great. Are there any questions or comments? If there are none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Everyone have a delightful and safe summer.